Spencer Ross with One Step Forward. I hope you've had a great week. Feedback. All right. As an individual, as a leader, are you taking feedback? Why should you take feedback? Well, because you can't see everything with yourself. Before I did this video, I took another video and I deleted it because I didn't like it. So I gave feedback to myself. But before I even got to that point, I put this shirt on and I stood in front of the mirror. That mirror I could take feedback from. Okay, so if I'm trying to lose weight, how am I going to get feedback? I'm going to use a scale. I'm going to use a mirror. If I have a coach, I'm going to have a coach help me with that feedback. What does that mean for you? Does that mean that you have to be able to accept that feedback? Yeah. So maybe at the beginning, you kind of change the scale a little bit to give yourself some momentum, to give yourself some positivity, like, hey, I'm doing okay. All right? But as you start going along, you don't want to do that anymore. You don't want to have that little cheat. So you start having an accurate scale. You start having an accurate mirror, an accurate representation. If I want to feel good about my cooking, I'll go talk to my mom, right? She will tell me it's amazing. If I want to critique, I'm going to have to do that myself. It's hard to critique people. You put a lot of effort into it. I know it's hard for me to critique people in cooking because I know how much effort and time and energy and thought process goes into doing it. Going to the grocery store and making sure that what you get is good. And sometimes that's out of your hands. But are we able to accept criticism or feedback? There's a little bit different stuff, right? You get dressed, you go out to the car and your mom tells you go change your clothes. Maybe you're going to church, maybe you're going to a birthday party. No, you're going to a birthday party, it's a swimming birthday party, it's a pool party. What are you doing? Oh, sorry, right? You're not going to wear snow clothes to a pool party. Maybe with that significant other, you give a little bit of some sarcastic going back and forth, right? But you go back and you change your clothes. With these videos, like I made a video. It was great. It was too long. I was using too many words to get across what I was trying to get across. So I deleted it. I was trying to shorten it down. I was like, no, I'll start over. All right. I know I'm too harsh on myself in some things. So I have to get some people in my life that I trust, who I've built a relationship with, to give me some accurate feedback. I've talked about my mom. If I practiced an interview with my mom, it would go horribly. She'd tell me I'd do a great job and she'd give me 50 things I need to fix. It'd be overwhelming. If I go to a brother, then yeah, okay, hey, Spencer, couple of things. If I'm going to a video and I'm doing too much out here, well, it's going to be a bit of annoying. Go to where you can trust it, right? There are certain people in your life that are good at certain things. If someone's good at concrete, I'm going to ask them to learn concrete from them. But I'm going to check their work first. If I'm going to do a presentation, there's some effort that I'm going to put in to prepare for that and have a good presentation. Am I willing to accept that feedback? How do I get feedback from a presentation? Is it just by someone afterwards telling me about it? Maybe I'm reading the faces in the room. Maybe I'm reading body language. One or two people, okay, well, if I'm only talking to one or two people, maybe that's just how they stand. Maybe that's just their face. But if I'm giving a presentation to 10 or 50 to 100 people, am I looking at their body language? I coached for a while. To get the young lady across the field to be able to hear me, to understand what I'm saying, I got louder. Well, that doesn't always work for a 5th grade girl because sometimes they think that you're yelling at them. And then you try to make sure that they can clearly understand that you're not yelling at them so that, well, let's say it took some time to develop being a good soccer coach. I was good at soccer, yes, but that does not always translate into being a good coach. You need to practice. You need to practice giving that presentation. You need to practice making that dish and presenting it in a proper way and then getting that feedback and adjusting. But just because you applied for the Hilton, when you apply for a different place, a school, maybe the presentation needs to be different. Maybe the feedback will be different. The clientele will be different. If you're going to do it for a bunch of kids over here you're going to do it for the G7 or G20. Well, it's going to be two different presentations. Here you've got Trace, here you've got China, that a little kid isn't going to have in the first grade. Maybe it's like school and there's tests. That's a form of feedback. That's a form of criticism. I'm not a good test taker, so I have to practice on how to actually take the test. When I went through school recently, they talked about how to take a test. I did not follow their instructions because I know that doesn't work for me. It's annoying for me to do that process. And I get lost in going back and trying to do it. So I talked to my instructor, like, hey, he's like, yeah, I know that. So good job on doing it for you, but you need to do more reps outside of school so that you're faster taking the test overall. Okay, cool. That works for me. Maybe what works for you is what's given in class in that presentation. Like, hey, how do you take a test? You take it like this. Well, that's one way to do it. Maybe this person does it like this. There was a kid, he was really smart. He didn't listen to anybody. He just took the test and he passed it. Okay, that worked for him. Is he going to get feedback in other things? Yeah. No one's born naturally smart, right? You don't know how to read when you're born. It takes practice. It takes a teacher. It takes a mentor. And he accepted it. And that's why he got to the point where he was really good. Maybe you need to follow up. I put in an application for something and I knew they were busy, but after 30 days I didn't hear anything. So I called them up. Hey, just want to know if you got my application. Oh yeah, we get it. We got it. You're missing this one thing. Well, it's the second document, the second attachment on that email, and why didn't I get a phone call? Sometimes the feedback is the stuff that you're giving. A guy did a presentation. As he's doing the presentation, I like getting feedback afterwards, so I would try to help people and give feedback, and sometimes people don't want it. Afterwards, I came up and I was like, hey, would you like any feedback on your presentation? Everyone else had said he did a good job, and his buddy's standing right next to him. And he's like, yes, please. Everyone told me I did a good job. All right. You said I ate 70 times. He was trying to say all right really fast, and it was his pause word. And so his buddy next to me said something I can't repeat on the video. During his presentation, 3 people behind me were making fun of him for saying all right. I ate. I couldn't get my notebook out fast enough to start counting them. Over 70 times in a 15-minute presentation. His presentation was good, but the I ate took away from it. So I talked to him a little bit, and I kind of ignored his friend for a little bit, and then I addressed his friend like, hey, who else is giving feedback? Everyone else has said he's good, but he needs to work on this. Some people it's some people it's like. For him it's I would want someone to work on it for me. And the young man thanks me, and we went our separate ways. Are you going to be bold enough? Are you going to be brave enough to go up and say, hey, do you want feedback? You don't have to just give it to them. Some people don't want it. Some people want it. Who knows? But you can ask, hey, would you like some feedback? Yes or no. Okay, cool. Thank you for your time. Whatever the case may be. But if you're in charge of your life, are you going to help the people around you to be better, right? Because he's going to go away and make other presentations. I don't want him to do that in other presentations. He will lose credibility. Another presentation. A guy did again, 10 to 15 minute presentation, and you can't see my feet, but he put his right foot forward and backwards, and he just rotated. So he would talk to that part of the room, and he talked to that part of the room. He talked to that part of the room, and he wasn't doing a natural walking back and forth. He did this for 10 to 15 minutes. And it was distracting. Okay, he doesn't know that until someone says it to him. He might know that, but I'm sure he doesn't want to do that in real life. So afterwards, 60 people were supposed to critique him. People said, good job, good job, good job. I raised my hand, got called on. So 3 people said, good job. I said, hey, you sway when you do your presentation. Your talking was good. You didn't say like a lot. You said a couple times, which is fine. Some people will tell you to never say I don't believe in that. If you say it twice in 10 minutes, who cares? Whatever, that's their opinion. I have my opinion. You will have your opinion, right? Because you're in charge. But the swaying, that was annoying. And it's distracting. And if he's going to be making presentations in front of 10 to 100 people and about some very serious things, you don't want to be swaying. So someone made a joke, and another guy, after the joke was made, the joke was supporting the guy who made the presentation. Another guy who heard what I said, had seen their presentation, heard what everyone else said, and the joke was like, no, dude, you were dancing up there. In your presentation, you danced. It was annoying. And the room was quiet. And the instructor, this was at school, the instructor said, yeah, I don't need to say anything else. They've covered it. Not the people who said good job, right? Because there is false positivity. There's false feedback. Yeah, you did great. They don't have any good intentions for you. Or like my mom, yeah, great, thanks mom. But I actually need constructive feedback. Something that I can grow on. If there's nothing, there's nothing. But dancing during a presentation, well, maybe that's what it is. But if you're not supposed to do it, let's give constructive feedback. Let's accept constructive feedback. If someone's being toxic, don't accept it. Right? If all they're doing is giving you hate, maybe what they're giving you is true. They need to work on their presentation, and you can accept things that are true, but don't just listen to someone because they speak. Don't do that. If you need to talk to someone, there's therapists, there's life coaches, there's career coaches, there's counselors. Those are great people to talk to. There's brothers and sisters. Sometimes family isn't the best place to listen. My mom's great. She can give feedback on a lot of things. There's 2 things I'm not going to ask her for feedback on. It's cooking and doing an interview. My older brother, yep, great. I have another older brother. Talks to me about that as well. I have people who have a hard time giving me feedback on my cooking. Am I being nice and accepting their feedback? Well, they're just shy. They just don't want to do it because they know how much effort, because they cook themselves, how difficult it is to give feedback. I have another brother. His best friend was a movie director. At the end of every movie, he would stand up and clap because he knew how hard it was. It didn't matter if the movie was good or not. He was going to say good job because he knew how hard the movie was. And we do need that feedback. We do need that positive motivation. But we also need realistic criticism. We also need that feedback, that scale, that mirror, that mentor who will come to us and say, hey, Spence, can I talk to you for a moment? Yeah, sure, I'm busy. No, we actually need to talk right now. Are we willing to listen to it? Are we willing to hear it? Are we willing to adjust? Taking that one step doesn't mean just always going forward. Maybe it's pausing and going, man, you're right. I need to be going that way. Spencer Ross is one step forward. And as you go through this week, are you accepting feedback? Are you being kind to those who are willing to be brave enough to have that courage to give you feedback? And are you giving feedback to other people? Have a great week.